The moment you achieve something real, a promotion, a business, recognition, something invisible shifts. The people around you change, not because you changed, but because success emits a frequency that certain psychological profiles are hardwired to detect. By the end of this video, I'll reveal a specific behavioral pattern called parasocial mirroring that exposes exactly who's feeding off your growth and who's genuinely there. We'll expose 3 psychological mechanisms driving this phenomenon. First, the proximity bias, why the wrong people move closest when you rise. Second, the shadow projection, how your success triggers buried wounds in others. Third, the validation predator, a profile most people never identify until it's too late. The real revelation comes at the very end. Brace yourself. You worked in silence. You sacrificed. You delayed gratification while others consumed. Then success arrived, and suddenly the phone rings more, invitations multiply, people you barely knew speak your name warmly in rooms you've never entered. It feels like validation. It feels like arrival. But underneath that warmth lies one of psychology's most uncomfortable truths. Success doesn't just attract admiration, it attracts hunger. This hunger isn't random. Evolutionary psychology explains it precisely. For thousands of years, proximity to high-status individuals meant survival, resources, safety, genetic advantage. Your brain, and theirs, is still running that ancient software. When someone senses your ascent, their limbic system fires instinctive approach signals before conscious reasoning even engages. They're not always aware they're doing it. That's what makes it so dangerous. The proximity bias is the first mechanism. Studies on social network dynamics, including research by Nicholas Christakis at Yale, show that when one node in a network gains status, surrounding nodes reorganize around it within weeks. People reposition themselves. Old rivals soften. Distant acquaintances resurface. This isn't loyalty. This is gravitational pull. And gravity doesn't care about your well-being. It only obeys mass. But here's where psychology reveals something deeply disturbing. The people most aggressively drawn to your success are frequently the ones carrying the heaviest psychological wounds. Carl Jung identified this in 1936. He called it the shadow. When your achievement activates what they've suppressed, their unrealized dreams, their abandoned ambitions, they don't always respond with inspiration. Often they respond with need, with attachment, with subtle extraction. Shadow projection, the second mechanism, operates silently. The colleague who suddenly becomes your biggest supporter may be projecting their unlived potential onto you. They need you to succeed because vicariously, you're succeeding for them. This feels flattering initially, but it creates a psychologically parasitic dynamic. If you stumble, their projection shatters, and support turns to resentment with terrifying speed. The warmth was never about you. Then there's the validation predator, perhaps the most insidious profile attracted by success. This person doesn't want your resources or your network directly. They want identity proximity. Being near you elevates how they perceive themselves. Psychologists call this burging, basking in reflected glory, first documented by Robert Cialdini in 1976. They'll use your name strategically. They'll frame their stories around your achievements. Your success becomes their borrowed currency. Wait, because the darkest part is coming. What happens when these psychological profiles sense your success might plateau, or worse, reverse? The same limbic system that fired approach signals now fires withdrawal. The proximity bias reverses. Suddenly, availability shrinks. Messages go unanswered. The warmth evaporates. And here's the cruelest psychological irony. You often blame yourself. You question what you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You simply stopped being useful. Understanding this protects you, but only if you act before the pattern completes. The first tool is temporal mapping. Track when people entered your life relative to your achievements, not with paranoia, but with precision. Relationships predating your success carry entirely different psychological weight. They knew you before the frequency changed. That temporal gap is one of the most reliable indicators of genuine versus gravitational connection. The second tool is stress testing. Deliberately introduced, subtle, and ethical. Share a quiet struggle. Mention an uncertainty, not performatively, but authentically. Observe the response. Genuine relationships, lean in. Proximity bias relationships, subtly distance. Validation predators become uncomfortable. Your fallibility disrupts their borrowed identity. This isn't manipulation, it's psychological clarity. You're simply creating conditions that reveal what was already true beneath the surface. The third tool addresses the shadow projection dynamic specifically. When someone's support feels disproportionate, too intense, too invested, too personal, ask yourself, are they supporting you, or are they supporting the version of themselves they see in you? This distinction is everything. Healthy admiration creates space. Shadow projection creates dependency. One empowers, the other subtly drains. Learn to recognize the difference before their unlived dreams become your psychological responsibility. Set asymmetric boundaries, not walls, but filters. Be genuinely open, but notice who initiates contact only during peaks, who disappears during valleys, who speaks more about your achievements than your character. These asymmetries reveal the relational architecture beneath social performance. Research by Dunbar and Schultz at Oxford confirms true social bonds are maintained through reciprocal vulnerability, not through admiration of status. Admiration fades. Reciprocal vulnerability deepens. In 1971, Philip Zimbardo's Stanford prison experiment revealed something beyond its famous conclusion. When participants were assigned status roles arbitrarily, previously neutral relationships transformed within 36 hours. Guards became authoritarian. Prisoners became submissive. Status, even fake temporary status, fundamentally restructured how humans perceived and related to each other. If fabricated status reshapes behavior that quickly, imagine what real, visible, earned success does to every relationship in your environment. Now, the parasocial mirroring pattern I promised. Research in neuroscience, particularly mirror neuron studies by Giacomo Rizzolatti at the University of Parma, reveals that humans unconsciously mimic the emotional states and behaviors of high-status individuals. Those attracted to your success begin subtly adopting your vocabulary, your aesthetic, your opinions, not consciously, neurologically. When you catch someone mirroring you excessively, not authentically, that's the clearest signal of gravitational rather than genuine connection. Success will keep attracting the wrong people until you develop the psychological literacy to see the invisible architecture beneath every relationship. The question isn't how to repel them, it's how to see clearly enough to choose deliberately. If understanding the human mind without filters matters to you, subscribe. Next, we reveal the manipulation pattern every social predator repeats. Does your success belong to you or to the story others built around it?